Hey, Veronica, what did you think of The Sting?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. What did you think?
I didn't like it.
Mm.
Ha! I conned you. I did like it. Yeah.
Well, is that a con, or is that just
I master conned you?
Fib? But I wasn't like along for the ride. You didn't use my own greed against me and sort of played me for the long haul. You literally just lied to me and then
Veronica, you're muted on the Zoom.
Am I?
No, I conned you. Ha ha ha! I conned you again.
This doesn't seem like conning. John, what do you know what conning is? What is your definition of conning?
Yeah, I just watched the movie. It's about a bunch of people. Conning is when you lie a bunch, and then yeah, that's mostly it. That's what I got from the movie.
So there's nothing about, trying to use people's own worst instincts against them in the long haul and then actually have some sort of a poetic justice as a result.
Look, are you saying conning is more about playing into people's assumptions and getting them to believe one thing while secretly doing something completely different behind their back?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Almost as if I pretended I didn't know what conning was. Veronica, check your wallet.
Oh my God.
Toot.
John?
Master Con does it again.
How did you put this picture of David Hasselhoff in my wallet, John? What is that about? How did
I'm gonna be rich.
Toot. This made zero sense.
No, that was good. That was a good intro. It was perfect improv. Okay. That was good yes ending, and a great way to lead off our conversation about one of the most beloved movies of all time.
Yeah, is it one of the most beloved? I mean, I'm not doubting you, but is that its reputation?
I don't know. I'm trying to hype things up at the beginning of the episode. It's one of the most beloved movies of all time.
Yeah, women want to fuck it. Guys want to be friends with it. It's The Sting. Cool.
I have always wanted to be friends with the 1973 film The Sting. That would be cool. Like, can you imagine if you came to my wedding and the best man was just a film canister holding the original negatives?
It would have to be like 1/8 of the movie or something, I guess, because like a one film canister is not a ton. Or maybe, sorry, I don't mean to ruin your bit.
To be fair. Even our closest friends, do we really know more than 1/8 of them?
That's true. That's deep, man. That's deep. But yeah,
for
who
instance,
are you marrying?
What's your name?
Oh, is that the part you don't know? My name is Veronica.
I was trying to segue into the intro of the show, but now it seems like I was trying to sidetrack from the question of who I'm marrying.
I know, which now I'm more curious about.
I'm marrying the 1973 film The Sting.
Wow. So you're marrying the Sting, and your best man is a film representation
the professional
of the movie,
wrestler
the
Sting from the 90s.
Oh, well, as long as it's not the Sting from the Police, because I hate Sting from the Police.
Guess what our wedding song's gonna be? Our first dance.
Boo, I don't want to.
Boo doo doo doo, boo doo, boo doo, boo doo doo.
Oh, okay. That's okay. I'll allow that. I'll allow the entertainer. Hi, I'm Veronica. Who are you?
And I'm Jon, and you're listening to Box Office Time Machine, the show where we talk about the number one movie at the box office, either from this weekend or from a weekend in the past, perhaps even 50 years in the past.
Wow.
Now,
does it past go that far?
It goes literally just to 50 years because we have not yet done a 60-year-old movie. So I think that's as far as it goes.
That's not true. We've done 101 Dalmatians.
Was that?
Yeah, that was 60s, baby.
It wasn't like a reissue or something?
No, it was like from 1962 or something like that.
I take it back.
Never mind. Again with the derails.
Wonderful
Explain
episode.
what the podcast is.
Feel free, listeners, to pause this episode, go back and listen to that episode and see how wrong I was.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless,
about just not liking 101 Dalmatians.
Unless I was actually just conning you. Because
whoa. Oh my God. This podcast episode is going to be a series of rug pulls.
We are talking about the 1973 movie, The Sting. Obviously 41 years old at this point. However, it was number one at the box office. It released in 51. It was released on Christmas Day in 1973, but I guess it was number one in April because that's when we're talking about it. Veronica.
Movies were different back then.
Movies were different. People had to watch them 1 minute at a time every week. So now is only when they finished it.
Exactly.
Ugh. 70s.
What was your question?
What is your history with The Sting?
I've seen it before. I can't recall. I was trying to remember when. It was either in high school or in college. It must have been after Ocean's 11 came out because I had a whole heist movie kick.
I was going to bring up Ocean's 11.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I saw it and I remember enjoying it. And I guess, spoiler alert, I think I enjoyed it more this time around than I had previously.
Now, because you've done so many more cons in your regular life, you can see the authenticity.
Exactly. Yeah, I traveled back in time to the 1930s just to see what cons were really like back then in our box office time machine.
What con did you do when you went back in time to the 1930s? What did you do? A wire? A rug pull? A shim sham?
I did a Dirty Johnson followed by a Crooked Lemon. People know what that means.
Yeah, the confidence men and women in the audience will know our cool con lingo.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I went to the land of ice and snow.
Well, Veronica, I had never seen this movie before. This is the first time I ever saw it.
Wow.
And that's not a con. That is the truth.
Well, now I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to believe anymore.
You can trust me. I'm a nice-seeming stranger that you met under unusual circumstances and is suddenly asking you to hold money.
Yeah, that sounds legit. Are you going to provide me a foolproof way of guarding my money, such as putting it in a handkerchief?
Sure. That is, of course, the opening con. We'll talk about that. This is one of the older moves we've done. So, Veronica, would you like to give our audience a quick refresher on what The Sting is?
Sure. Yeah. So, The Sting, as we said, it stars Paul Newman and Robert Redford. two hotties. But anyway, Robert Redford is Johnny Hooker, and his deal is that he does small time cons, as we discussed, robbing sort of runners for bookies and mobsters. And he robs the wrong guy. And as a result, his collaborator dies, and now he seeks revenge. And so he meets up with Paul Newman's character, Henry Gondorf, who's the sort of, we think, washed out con man who operates like a merry-go-round with horses. Is that what you call him? I guess it's a carousel.
No, we call them sex workers these days, not horses.
Well, he operates both a carousel, but it is part of a brothel. So
it is a merry-go-round that is a front for the brothel. And I will say the scene that all the old-timey
it was
prostitutes,
such a delight. I loved it.
Take the day early and just ride on the merry-go-round is a very sweet image in their old-timey lingerie.
Yeah, it was very cute. I really like that. And so they team up with basically, it seems like the entire population of Chicago to con Robert Shaw, the guy from Jaws. But this was before Jaws. So is he the guy from Jaws? Who's to say? His name is Doyle Lonigan. And so through a series of confidence schemes, they basically want to rob him of his money by setting up a fake bookie agency where you bet on the horses so that he can place one giant bet that he think would pay off fivefold, but instead they're going to steal his money. But are they going to be able to do it? Are the Chicago police officers that are after Hooker, after his previous sting, going to be after him? Is the FBI going to be after him? Is Robert Shaw going to wise up to him before he gives up his money?
No.
This and more on The Sting.
They are going to get away from it. They are going to get away with it because this movie was made in 1973 and not 1963. A crazy thing to think about with this movie is that this movie was made not that long after oh my God, what is it called? The Hays Code. Is it the Hays Code?
Right. Yeah.
The Motion Picture Code. Wait, is the Hays Code the comic one or comic book one or?
No. The Hays Code is the one where like you can't besmirch a clergy person. You can't have a married couple share a bed. You like the cops have to be the good guys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the Hays Code.
Right. Yeah.
And that slowly kind of dissipates towards the end of the 60s. And is entirely abandoned in the 70s already. So yes,
the Hays Code. It was but yeah, it's funny to think that if there were a lot of movies of this kind that were made before this, but just a few years earlier, they would have had to get caught at the end, or they would have had to lose their money because movies could not be released in America. They could not be widely distributed if the criminals got away at the end.
That is wild.
Also, you probably couldn't shoot that lady in the head.
Yeah, that was surprising. I did not remember this. I will say, having seen this movie a ton of time ago, even though I'm so young, all the information in it was fairly new to me, except for sort of the main conceit of it, I guess. So that was good. So I was kind of surprised at the right places and all that jazz, I suppose.
Well, it's funny. I had never seen it before, but in some ways I felt like I'd seen it before. This is definitely one of those times where you watch an older movie and you're like, oh, so many movies I've seen ripped this movie off. I have seen bits and pieces of this movie so many times. And it's funny. I was thinking the moment it revealed that it was not just a two-man con man team, but rather a wacky army of confidence men from all across Chicago, and we have like the fun little like building the team montage. It did make me think of Ocean's 11. And have you ever seen the original Rat Pack Ocean's 11?
I have not. I heard it's not that great. Have you?
I've heard it's incredibly boring. I've seen that famous last shot where they walk down the Las Vegas Strip, but from doing some quick reading, I may be wrong. I apologize if I am, but it feels like the Soderbergh Ocean's 11 almost has more in common with this than with that movie. It's like in the original Ocean's 11, they're all part of like a military. They were all like stationed together.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, this one, it definitely, especially the dynamic between Robert Redford and Paul Newman is definitely reminiscent of George Clooney and Brad Pitt. I mean, especially I would say Brad Pitt. Like, there are a lot of mannerisms of Robert Redford that you're like, oh, this is like Brad Pitt has been copying Robert Redford for a very long time. And they've been in the same movie together, Spy Game, if you have not seen it. Oh, I guess, yeah, Spy Game. And
Butch
I feel
Cassidy.
like in that movie, he acts less like Robert Redford than he does in something like Ocean's 11. But yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Wait, Spy Game. Oh. God,
yeah, that's the one where there's like a war in the Balkans or something.
I've never seen that.
Both
I was totally
CIA operatives. I've seen it. It's okay.
Has George Clooney ever worked with Paul Newman?
I don't think he had. Well, he did do that documentary about the marriage of Paul Newman and Diane Woodward, or Joanne Woodward, his wife.
That's a pretty big thing. And of course, I'm seeing right here. Yes, Paul Newman was also in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes 2, like George Clooney. Okay. So, yeah.
Did he play a race car?
He played a race car?
Oh, no. He played one in Cars.
Oh, okay. True.
Isn't that one of his last roles? Cars?
Let's see. His last roar. Posthumous. He was posthumously in Cars 3.
Aww.
His last role, he was a narrator of a meerkat documentary. He did a narrator of a Dale Earnhardt documentary. And
he did like racing.
Yeah, Cars was really the last thing he did. He was doing all voice stuff at the end.
Oh, I gotta say, like, I mean, Robert Redford, sure, he looks great. Paul Newman, though, yes.
That's your guy in this?
That is my guy. I mean, he is so handsome. I do find Paul Newman incredibly attractive. So that was definitely a bonus.
I have a question. How old do you think Johnny Hooker is supposed to be in this?
Well, they keep referring to him as a kid, right? But he seems in his 30s. I don't know if that is true.
I think he might have been.
How old was Paul? How old was Robert Redford when that movie came out?
I think he was like 36 or 35.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that kind of tracks with his. No, so he was born in 1936. So he was 37 probably when this was shot and released, yeah? Because
I have to think that the script, because this was not like written for them, and I have some funny stories about the script that I found. I have to imagine in the script, it's supposed to be a younger guy.
Yeah.
Because there are a number of references to him being like young.
Yeah. I almost took it as he's younger. He's sort of less experienced in that field. I can totally see that it was probably intended as a more literal, like, you are this very, very young person. But I was like, I let it slide.
Yeah.
How old is Paul Newman? Like, are they that much. Yeah, they're
Paul Newman
11
is 9 years
apart.
older. 9 years older. 11 years older.
No, he's 11 years older. Yeah.
Oh, his birthday is one day away from mine.
Wow. Happy birthday to Paul Newman.
There you go.
That's how I will always wish you happy birthday.
Listeners, if you look up Paul Newman's Wikipedia, if you look up Paul Newman's Wikipedia, then you have two guesses of what my birthday is. Is it the day after or the day before?
Then you can take over John's identity.
Yeah.
You have one of the security questions.
Once you guys figure out the name of my middle school and my first pet, then you're golden.
Oh, for that, all you got to do is go back to your Twitter account circa 2009, where I'm sure you revealed that information. Yes. Or when that thing was running around when everyone was doing it.
Everyone was sharing their first pet or something? Yeah,
because I feel like it happens every few years where it's like, yeah, the hottest trend is like, what is your strip name? And like, give me 2 pieces of vital information to steal your identity.
Now that's a con.
That is a con. Why aren't we making cons about the modern cons? Like, why isn't like there's some like sleek like Indian office where like there's a giant like a phone center and there's like a sexy Dev Patel type who's there to like run a con on some evil British person? I'll watch that. Is that what Monkey Man is? If that is what Monkey Man is, I'll swear I'll finally
I have yet to see Monkey Man. I don't think much of it involves a call center.
Well, all right. Well, you don't know for sure.
I don't. I don't. 2 weeks ago, I had a choice of what to see in the movies, and I saw Civil War because we were doing an episode on it, and I wanted to see it more. Veronica, what is your favorite con artist movie?
So I guess it would have to be Ocean's 11. I love the Soderbergh Ocean's 11. I think it's phenomenal. I watch it every year or close to that. I truly love it. I think it's kind of a perfect movie. And I love heist movies. So
you've seen a lot of movies that kind of built off the building blocks of this one?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I wasn't probably evaluating them on that, on that merit, but for sure.
Well, so would you say, how early did you guess the second secret con that's happening in the background of this movie?
I mean, pretty immediately, I guess, because it's sort of, that's part of the structure, right? There's always kind of like a sub-con that happens. But I don't think that would be necessarily to the detriment of this movie. By the way, John, we're doing video and you just left.
I know. Could you hear that dog? There was a dog freaking out. Either that or it was a con.
I guess, it's hard to tell. But yeah, it always,
freaking the fuck out right now.
It is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a
trope,
a well-worn trope,
cliche
of, I don't know. I feel like cliche makes it seem more negative than I want to go. It almost feels like it's a thing that we as an audience expect and deserve. It's in a horror movie. There has to be, that scene from, I don't know, from Scream or something where there's like an innocent woman who gets killed or something in the beginning. I feel like that sort of, you kind of expect it and you look for how a movie kind of plays around with that trope. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely like whenever someone, so in that kind of FBI scene, you're like, so there's a scene where Robert Redford gets brought in front of the FBI guy and he has to give up Paul Newman and we think he's really going to give it up. or give him up. But you kind of know, like, okay, so that means that he's not really, he has like another thing going. And then I think like the nice twist that they add on top of that is that, oh, the FBI was actually also in on it. Mm-hmm. And they were actually also conning the crooked cop. So I don't know. I thought all that stuff worked really well.
No, I loved it, even though I did guess it immediately. But I'm curious, is this movie, unfortunately, I don't have an answer to this. Is this movie the first movie to do there's one final secret that we're not telling the audience? We're doing one con on the audience. Do you think... So obviously this isn't the first heist movie. You know, we mentioned Ocean's 11, which made during the Hays Code. So yes, they lose all the money at the end because crime does not pay unless you're the actual Rat Pack in real life.
Well, that's kind of the same thing with something like The Italian Job, right? The original Italian Job. I don't know if you've seen it, but...
they're stuck at the end. They're going to lose the car, right? And the gold?
Well, no, they fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
In a bus. So I think, at the time... I'm trying to think... Do you remember that movie, The Killing? The Stanley Kubrick?
I have never seen it.
Sort of another horse race. I forget whether that one has an additional twist. But yeah, I think this one, I don't know. Maybe we can make an executive decision.
I don't know. It seems... I could imagine the audience like freaking out, you know, when... So there is the whole thing with the FBI. And then, of course, at the end, it seems like they've been revealed. And Paul Newman shoots Robert Redford. And then the FBI agent shoots him. So they both appear to be dead. And then we, of course, get our Robert Redford with fake blood on his lips, opening his eyes and winking.
So
like
sexy.
We get the reveal. You know, it's just the right amount of time later for like the audience to be like, wow, I guess... Well, I guess they wouldn't have been surprised. That would have been normal that the criminals get caught, like just get killed at the end. So they
would have been sad, you know.
Yes,
they like them.
But yeah, so it feels great. I wonder if this was the first time. It's not now any movie you have like. Did you ever see Matchstick Men? This is a bad conversational road to go down because I'm just going to be listing movies, and by listing them, I'm going to be in some way spoiling them.
Yeah, I guess that is sort of...
It's like anytime you make like a list of like best movies with twist endings, just the fact that a movie is on that list then kind of spoils it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you're right. By the way, The Killing also ends in a very pro police way. They lose all the money and then they get cornered by cops.
Up until 1966, all movies were narcs.
Yeah.
Except for the pre-code era. Then they were cool.
Yeah, they were fucking in the roaring 20s to jazz and no sound.
That's what I tell when I go on a date. That's what I tell a woman. I only fuck to jazz and no sound.
What was I gonna say? I also, another thing that I did like about this movie that's not spoilery for other movies is that I miss the idea of a movie just ending. You know, it's like we literally, so they resolve all no one got shot. There's like a handshake. We're all good now. And that's the end. I mean, there's a cute little sort of iris in on them walking away, but that's it. There's no sort of like 4 endings. Where are they now? Let's see how they spend their money. Let's like do all that shit. The movie just ends. They used to do that all the time in all kinds of movies.
Redford
and that
doesn't get on a boat with Gandalf and sail off to the west.
No. It's just every freaking movie has like 4 endings now. And it's like, it's nice that it's done. It's also, I guess, nice that, in the old credit times when it was done. There wasn't even like a very long sort of credit sequence. It would be like, the end, stylized, go home.
Well, that's because they did the credits beforehand.
No, I know, but they were pretty short and usually more stylized. So that was very cute. The credits in this one are nice. They actually, if anything, introduced Robert Redford and Paul Newman like twice, because they introduced them in sort of illustrated fashion, and then they actually do kind of like live action sort of little clips of them, and again they kind of show their roles. So if anything, there was less economy in the introduction.
Oh, I forgot to say, I was so, positive that there was going to be a secret final con. So I was looking for it. And until I saw the scene with the FBI and they're like, oh, yeah, we decided not to be in a police station today for totally believable reasons. And then I went, yeah, that's the con. That's obviously the con. But before that, I was trying to figure it out. And for a while, I thought it was going to end with I'm not going to say which movie it is, but there's another older con man training a younger one. There's a few movies with that premise where it ends with the younger one conned the older one. The whole thing was a con. I thought that it was going to end with Robert Redford conning Paul Newman. And I thought... midway through the movie, I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. But I thought the Erie guy was going to be a part of it. And I thought Snyder was going to be a part of it.
Wow.
I thought the whole thing was going to be the same way they did the con at the beginning with Luther. I thought it was all going to be a bigger version of that.
That would be so cool. How dare you doubt their bromance?
I know.
That is... heartbreaking.
Well, I guess what my real thing was like, why do we keep cutting back to this Erie guy? What is his point in the story? And now the movie's over, and I don't know. I don't know why we follow him.
He just wanted to help. He is there to represent all the little guys who just want to chip in a little, but don't really want to get, beat up by the police too much. Even though he's the only one who really got roughed up by the police outside of Robert Redford, I suppose.
Charles Durning as Snyder, the police officer who, in the background of all of this, is chasing Robert Redford because he gave him counterfeit money earlier in the movie. He, at one point, roughs up this guy Erie, to look while looking for Robert Redford, and breaks his nose in a way that seems kind of fake, but I realize now it seems fake because it's a movie and he didn't actually break the actor's nose. But I thought it purposefully looked a little fake. And we see that the other guy, Twist, who is basically in charge of hiring everyone for this con, he hires Erie because he saw him get his nose broken. So in my head, I'm like, and these scenes, honestly, have no reason to be in the movie. So I was building this whole secret underplot where I'm like, okay, so Erie's part of the actual con, and so is Snyder. And they faked the nose breaking thing to trick Twist into hiring Erie. Because there's that whole scene where he's like, were you get that nose at the blah, blah, blah bar a few hours ago? You got gumption, kid. You're in. Which seems so silly.
It was. I like that. I kind of like that bar scene where they go to recruit the guys, because it was kind of a fun. He goes into a back room and he's like, okay, yeah, I need some cons. And this guy's like, okay, bring the sheet in. As if like, I love the idea that there's these guys that come in that kind of like sign in at the bar like they like stevedores at a port.
Yeah, it's a con union hall.
Like, yeah, it's like, okay, like, yeah, we got work for like 5 people. I don't know. I like that world. Maybe because it is sort of kind of foreign to normal con movies are usually happening in our lifetime, sort of pretty contemporary usually. So it was kind of cool to see a version, an old-timey version, even at the time, right? Because this was almost like 40 years past, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be set in September of 36, I believe.
Yes. So Robert Redford in real life, just being born.
Wow.
Actually,
so
I think
he is a
months before
kid.
being born. Yeah, he's so young in this. He's playing himself in this film.
Oh yeah, so he's doing it's sort of a lower key Benjamin Button, where it's kind of aging backwards from just like being in his 30s.
So this movie was written by David S. Ward, and he said one of the things that he liked was the idea of like, oh my God,
sorry.
Ward.
I need to shut up.
I bet he went by that like when he was trying to hit on the ladies. Wait, what was it? Yep. Yes, he married women. Yes, he was straight when he was hitting on the ladies.
Oh, good. There's like a Wikipedia for his sexual proclivities.
Well, no, in his Wikipedia it says his spouse names. He had it looked like
okay.
3 wives.
He had 3 wives.
He's still alive
at the same time.
Yes, he was a bigamist. He is still alive. He's 78
in Seattle.
Years old.
This is crazy. The guy who wrote The Sting also wrote Sleepless in Seattle.
Holy shit. He also wrote King Ralph and directed it.
Yeah.
He wrote and directed Major League, which I genuinely do think is super fun. You know what's funny? When this came out, when this movie came out, it was accused by a lot of folks of stealing of plagiarism. First, it was there was a settlement. It was accused
by many for stealing the plagiarism, or did you misspeak?
Yes, I talk bad. No, yes.
No, I'm curious.
This movie, the screenplay was accused of plagiarism. Well, David S. Ward was accused of plagiarism. The screenplay itself did not commit a crime. It was accused, and there was one settlement with a nonfiction book about con artist brothers who had the actual name Gondorf, which is the name the name of Paul Newman's character. The other thing that it was accused of plagiarism for is an episode of the TV show Maverick. And I'm going to read to you the premise of this episode. This episode is from 1958, the TV show Maverick from season 2.
The golden age of Maverick.
It's one of the most famous episodes. Depicts gambler Brett Maverick, main character James Garner, being swindled by a crooked banker after depositing the proceeds from a late-night poker game. He then surreptitiously recruits his brother Bart Maverick and a host of other acquaintances to mount an elaborate sting operation. So similar, and I wouldn't be surprised if an inspiration, but that's just kind of a premise. There's a lot of differences, like the fact that, I don't know, it takes place in 1930s Chicago, which is a pretty big difference. But what's funny is, so he was accused of that. He wrote Major League. And how many movies and TV shows have we seen recently that are just the fucking plot of Major League? Like Ted Lasso season 1 is just Major League. The plot of Major League... I've
never seen it.
The plot of Major League is the owner's wife, the owner of a Major League Baseball team, a Major League Sports team, she does not care about the team, but to get back at her cheating ex, at her terrible ex, she decides to ruin the team that he loves. So she purposefully... Yeah, it's Ted Lasso. It's just Ted Lasso just did Major League. So it's funny that David S. Ward was accused of just doing Maverick, just ripping off the premise of a TV show, when years later, one of his movies was just ripped off for a TV show. I don't know if it's that funny, but it's kind of funny.
Is that karma? Is that reverse karma? If like you steal from someone, then someone steals from you.
You know what it is?
But then,
it's a con.
It's a con.
Yeah.
It's a con. It's this thing. Bop, bop. Yes. John, have you ever watched The Sting 2?
No. Have you ever watched The Sting 2?
No, I'm just looking at it right now, and I'm pretty curious, like, what the deal is, because no one came back for it.
I do not believe it was well regarded. I think
it has a 4.8 on IMDb, which makes this pretty bad, because I feel like IMDb, if anything, is pretty generous with its ratings. It was nominated for one Oscar, though, which is for Best Music, but for Lalo Schifrin, the guy who did the Mission Impossible song.
This is so weird. They don't have the same actors, but they're also playing different characters who I guess are brothers.
Yeah, it's Fargo, Gondorf, and Jake Hooker.
Whereas in The Sting 1, it's Henry Gondorf and Johnny Hooker.
Yes. Well, I just wonder. I also kind of wonder whether it was Paul Newman, Robert Redford was like, yeah, you can't use our names or like even our character names.
This is insane. And this sounds like something we would get in a movie like nowadays. Some like, crazy bullshit of like, we ignored these sequels or blah, blah. This is actually the movie based on the toy that Buzz Lightyear was in, yada, yada, yada. So here's from the Wikipedia for The Sting 2. At the time of the film's release, director Jeremy Paul Kagan claimed The Sting 2 is inspired by and is an expansion of the first Sting rather than a continuation. The principal
is this
character,
the Sting Cinematic Universe?
Yeah.
The SCU?
The principal characters are based on two very famous real-life con men and are totally different from the two characters in the original. Yeah. And that's why they have different first names. However, characters in the film make specific references to the events of the first film, and the entire plot is driven by Lonergan's desire to avenge his losses. Which
is the plot of Ocean's 12.
Yes.
Essentially.
So they do bring back Lonergan. That is, and he has the same first name, but it's not Robert Shaw. Do you think it was weird for Robert Shaw that Paul Newman's character is going by the fake name Mr. Shaw the entire movie?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I think he's a professional thespian. I'm sure he did okay with that.
Able to handle it. Can you think of another movie?
I mean, he was okay with like acting against a shark, and his mom is a shark, so it was fine.
And people don't realize the shark in Jaws, his name is Gary Shaw.
Yeah, Gary Shaw, the shark. Who was anyway? Sorry, that was a stupid bit.
No, this is good. Let's keep going. This is gold. Veronica, do you mind if this movie is famously well-regarded movie, incredibly influential, huge hit, big Oscar winner, huge financial success, regarded, according to Wikipedia, as one of the greatest screenplays of all time. Veronica, do you mind if I make some itty-bitty criticisms?
Oh no. Are the character arcs not working out for you, John?
I got some nits to pick.
All right.
I think having so many movies, have like kind of stolen and built upon this movie. I think there are some things that more modern variations of this would have done better. My first, all of these con men are apparently only doing this primarily because they really love Luther, the guy who gets killed at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should see more about how beloved a character he is.
Yeah, I guess we only see him. Yeah, we see him in 2 scenes. I will say his second, well, alive. We also see him dead in another scene, I suppose. But I kind of like the scene of his home life.
Oh, yeah.
I like the introduction to his family. And then he has this nice scene with Robert Redford. I agree. It would have been nice to see more of him because I did enjoy his character. It could have been nice if he... Yeah, like whether they did another con together or whether there was more even to his death scene so that we could kind of see.
By the way, did you recognize who that was? Who played Luther?
No, who plays Luther?
Did he look like anyone to you?
Oh boy. I don't think so.
Midway through the movie,
Luther?
I'm like, God, this guy looks like James Earl Jones. It's his dad.
Oh,
Robert Earl Jones.
Damn. No, I did not recognize him, and I did not think he looked like James Earl Jones. But yeah, I guess he does. I mean, we need to really see him in like a black mask.
Yeah, wearing a Darth Vader mask.
Yeah.
A mask that famously James Earl Jones never wore.
That's true. I suppose you're right. I did not know James Earl Jones's dad was an actor.
I thought you were about to say, I didn't know that James Earl Jones had a dad.
Oh God, that's dark.
Because it's funny. I didn't realize how much older he is. I would have thought it was his brother at first. And when I first saw it, I was like, I didn't realize James Earl Jones had a brother, but no, it's his dad. So when you started saying I didn't realize James Earl Jones, I thought you were gonna say he had a dad. I'm like, Veronica. Most of us do. We all do, really.
I would argue all of us do, right? Except for maybe like Dolly, the clone sheep. I mean, do we have a dad or do we have a father? Who's to say?
I have a few friends that were born out of asexual procreation, so...
are they amoebas? Are you friends with amoebas?
No, they're just humans that were born when their mother split into another person. And I think that's
God,
beautiful.
I'm so sorry.
That's beautiful. Love is love.
Love is love. Yes.
But yes,
I did not know that.
I loved the scene. I thought the scene with Luther was great. I thought the scene with his wife, because we set up that is a fake pressure point that they use later, which when you think about it, a little rude of them to use her in their secret con. She is an actual grieving widow. Kind of rude for them to play on that in their fake con.
It's not like she had to play along with it.
No, she was
just
not
had
there.
to be like someone... Yeah.
A modern movie, if he is like the linchpin, it would have done something, and maybe this would have been dumb, but it would have done something where like all those con artists were like trained by him. So they like all kind of have, it doesn't have to be a big thing. But like it could have just been like, we all like, Luther taught me this, blah, blah, blah. Also, she would have been involved in the con in some way and we would have seen her get money. I think they say at some point that, they say all the guys have been passing around a collection plate for her. But I think like a modern movie would have shown that. And I think this movie could have shown it. My other criticism. It's not really, well, this one is, the whole Loretta storyline is so weird.
You mean the secret assassin lady?
The secret assassin, the whole thing is strange. I do not think it needed to be in the movie.
Yeah, it was odd because there was no payoff to it from even the Robert Shaw character perspective. Because we see him telling them, okay, I brought we think, man to do this job because your cronies are incapable of doing it. And then we kind of forget about it. Then we see like some gloves in a scene, I think, or something like that. And then we have to almost kind of like circle back to be like, oh, this is like that guy, who we think is a guy. But then we never get the payoff of like, oh, I thought Sicario or whatever the name of this person is killed you already.
I think. Celino
and Barnes.
It's it just feels also it was kind of spoiled for me because I was like, what is this actress? Do I know this actress from anything else? And I'm on the Wikipedia and while I'm watching the movie and I'm not like reading the plot. So I'm not seeing the plot. And so I'm like, oh, what else is this actress in? Let's see. Here's the cast. Demetria Arliss plays Loretta. And I click on her. And then in her Wikipedia, it says her films include The Sting, in which she portrayed the contract killer Loretta Salino. And I'm like, wait, what?
I mean, I gotta say, it was kind of the gender twist I thought was fun. That part I liked. And I liked their banter. They had some like fun banter at the beginning where he was trying to chat her up. But I think the logistics of him actually starting to go to that diner and then actually legitimately falling for her, or not even falling for her, but at least like finding her attractive and like trying to spend more time with her seems like way more convoluted than her just like trying and killing him in the street or something.
I'm going to try to go through what I think is the plan here. And this is... As I go through it, I think you could take this all out because it's just weird. For some reason, one of my biggest problems at the beginning was the fact that Lonigan, wow, I'm just like Paul Newman when he's pretending to be...
he's gonna punch you in the face, man.
Lana boy, Lulu face. Lonigan already wants Robert Redford dead. Mm-hmm. However, our brilliant con artists just assume he doesn't know what Robert Redford looks like, even though anyone could describe him to him. And
but what would they say? He's a blonde, handsome man?
We see in the movie that Robert Redford gets photos of the two hitmen that are after him. So maybe someone would have a photo of him. I get that it's 1936. No, that's true, but
it turns out that they didn't.
Right. It just seems weird that they're like, who should be the main guy talking to Lonigan? I know the person that Lonigan is at this moment trying to kill. And they have like a thing that the movie does not get across how lucky they are. Lonigan drops Robert Redford off at his apartment where Lonigan's hitmen are currently waiting. And then when he escapes, Robert Lonigan talks to his hitman and they go, yeah, he came in and then he somehow knew we were there. And if they had just been like, where were you, by the way? Where is his apartment? They would have just found out that it's the fucking same guy they were just talking to. But whatever. I think that's all there so we can get this hitman mystery, which is silly and dumb, where Lonigan then hires a hitman who murders his other hitman. We never see this person.
Well, that other hitman was not his hitman. He was the hitman of his lower
right,
rung,
the Joliet,
ranking
Joliet,
deputy
bookie guys. Okay,
yes,
sure, fine. But the movie randomly turns into like a giallo movie where we've got a person with just black gloves who's just following around the characters and just shooting them. It got to that scene, the first scene where she kills one of the hitmen. I was like, what's happening? What?
Yeah, you had to remind yourself that like there's another assassin on the loose because you kind of forget that it was happening.
But so it's weird. So at this point, Lonigan calls in his best assassin, this woman, Salino. And she's like, I know what to do. I'm going to go to this diner, somehow replace the waitress who's normally there. We get one line where Robert Redford's character is like, hey, where's Michelle or something? And she's like, she took the week off. So presumably...
She doesn't sound like that.
Presumably, the same way that our good guy characters found out that Lonergan loves to go play poker on this train ride, presumably Lonergan found out, Robert Redford's character likes to hang out at this diner. He did not find out what Robert Redford looks like, because then the whole other plot would be messed up. But so he's like, okay, Celino, my expert assassin, he likes to hang out at this diner. So we, I guess, are going to pay off the waitress and the owner. Somehow we're going to get this business to agree to you pretending to be a waitress for a week, I guess. You're just going to have to be a waitress. And that's fine. Fortunately, this then leads to Robert Redford falling for this woman and hitting on her. Then she, I guess, is bringing him up to her apartment to kill him, and would have killed him if the landlady across the hall didn't see her. Is that what we're led to believe?
Well, I didn't even think that. I thought he was just coming up to her apartment because he wanted to. I don't know that she was even luring him there.
She didn't invite him over. Yeah. He came. You're right.
But also, I am confused by how did she know what he looks like? Like, so there's the whole thing of like, so Robert Shaw doesn't know what he looks like, but she supposedly does, because she ends up wanting to kill him. But how is she relayed the instructions or the description of what he looks like in order to be able to recognize that this is her target? I think that is the biggest kind of plot hole for me.
I think this movie's nearly perfect, except this one storyline, which I would just completely cut out. And then it just ends with I genuinely think the entire purpose for this storyline is to, from like a screenwriting perspective, is to further add into the misdirect of the like ultra, like the secret con. It's meant because when Robert Redford is almost killed, when this woman is surprise shot in the head, what we are as the audience supposed to think is that Robert Redford's character is feeling extreme guilt because Paul Newman's character just saved his life by hiring another guy because yada yada. We were supposed to think that guy was him and yada yada. But Paul Newman's character saved his life. And so we are supposed to think that the looks on Robert Redford's face are feelings of guilt and conflict because, wow, I just betrayed the man who saved my life, when in actuality, those looks are just, damn, that lady I fucked almost killed me.
Yeah.
It's just, I would cut that whole storyline out. But one thing I found that's very funny, so this movie in 2018 was adapted into a musical. It did like a tryout run at the Paper Mill Playhouse, a big regional theater in New Jersey. And it was not well received, never made the jump to Broadway. Starred Harry Connick Jr. at the Paul Newman character. It appears that the female lead is Loretta. Because I guess who else would it be? Well, I mean, the Eileen Brennan character. What's her name?
I don't. Lorraine. Billy.
Billy.
Okay.
The Eileen Brennan character, who's basically Paul Newman's like second in command. She would more be. Okay, she has more songs, so she's the she has equal amount of songs as Loretta. Loretta has multiple songs.
Why does Loretta have multiple songs?
Because there are no women in this movie. So if you're making it a musical, you have to bump up the female roles. And you can't just have one of the female leads be lady who shows up for 3 scenes and then gets her face blown off.
I don't know. I mean, there's Book of Mormon. There's barely any women in that one. They made it work.
There is one large female character.
Yeah, but like there could be one large female character in The Sting. It would not be Loretta. It would be that Billy lady. Yeah.
I would cut. I'm very curious how the Loretta storyline would have gone in the musical, because I think it's the one part of this movie that's so deeply weird.
Yeah. I didn't need it, because to be honest, by the time it got its payoff, I entirely forgot that there was an assassin on the loose. So it was all just, I think it could have worked under a different, maybe like timing mechanism, or maybe it needed maybe a few more beats if they actually wanted to have that be a part of the story and have that be an element of danger. But yeah, it just felt like unnecessary.
You know what I loved? There's two little film things I loved. I think it's called the Texas Switch. Is that what it's called? Texas Switch?
Is that the card thing?
Yeah, yes. The Texas Switch in editing trick is like, it's frequently it's like when a stuntman will like do something in the background and then walk behind a wall, and then the actual actor in the same costume will walk out. Either that, or it's like an actor and then you'll swap it with a dummy or something. But yeah, in the card scene, we see these amazing card tricks clearly performed by like a close-up card magician, and we're just watching the hands, and then the hands go out of frame for a second, and there is, because this is 1973, it's not there is a clear cut, and then hands come back in, finish the routine, camera pans up to Paul Newman. I thought that was fun. I liked it.
It was very cute. I love magic, though obviously it's like, it's less magical in film, because it's like, oh, how did they do that? They cut away from it. But I don't know. That was fun. Yeah, I like that card scene, was very fun. Like the whole like card game, I thought was very, very fun. I still don't understand how poker works, but it seemed legit.
That made me so want to play cards that I went and I got a deck of cards out from the other side of the room just to play with. It was a deck of cards that I had bought at some kind of stupid store years ago, and I had never opened them. I opened them for the first time to watch this. This will be a real treat for our YouTube listeners. They're Gremlins playing cards.
Gremlins.
Yep.
All right. Who's the ace?
It's such a bummer I never opened these up before, because they fucking rule. The ace is all, it looks like, so basically the cards start all being like just Gizmo, but as you get deeper in the deck, it's more the Gremlins, and they're fucking with the stuff. So there's like images of them moving like the aces and stuff. It's very fun. This is great for the podcast, though. This is good, right? Hey, look at that shit. But yeah, I was playing with my cards because I was so enjoying watching them play poker in that scene.
I think anytime there's a card trick in a movie, I'm like, I should learn this. How hard can this be? And then I watch a video and it's like, yeah, it's very hard.
Can I mention another production thing I noticed?
Yes, of course.
I am pretty sure. I saw a fun little editing trick in the montage where they are hiring. They're hiring all the con men, and also Robert Redford's character is getting done up to look like a well-to-do man and not a roustabout. We see shots where towards the end of the montage, suddenly he is back in his old shitty suit with his old haircut, and he is getting an apartment. That is clearly a scene that was supposed to be a non-montage scene that was filmed that was supposed to be earlier. My guessing is for pacing reasons, they're like, oh, we need to have him just meet Paul Newman. We need to just get into this con. But they couldn't cut that scene because he puts a little piece of paper in the door in that scene, which is how later he knows that the assassins are in his room. So they had the smart idea, fuck it, let's just put it silently in the montage. Even though it makes no sense that he's back in his dirty clothes. I don't know that's what happened, but that's my guess. And I think it's cool.
I think it could have totally also just been like, okay, this is my costume, but I don't want to like tell everyone that I'm this changed man because I'm running a con, so I'm still going to wear my other suit. But also his other suit was expensive too, right? Because he blew a bunch of money on it before, so it was just like not as fashionable, I suppose.
I think he's back to his old haircut. I think that's the real tell. Is that like he's like in that scene he's back to being unshaven with his old haircut. I'm not, Here, you want to talk for 30 seconds while I look this up? While I look up the video.
Okay. Is this going to be good for podcasting purposes?
Yep. This is going to be great. This is all good stuff.
This is all good stuff. Well, I also like that basically in the scene where they get the team together, there's a scene where this guy clearly has a job. He's a teller at a bank servicing this woman, and he sees Paul Newman sort of flick his nose at him. And he immediately just is like, all right, lady, fuck off. And then he just resigns from his job.
I want to know what his note to his boss is when he does that.
Yeah, like, so you don't need any further details to know whether this would be fuck you money that you're about to get, or just...
Henry Gondorff is the king of the cons. Everyone wants to work with him.
No, I mean, I'm sure he's a fun guy and has all the fun cons, but you don't know all the details yet. Like, don't resign in a huff. You might regret it. That's all I'm saying.
That's another thing that like a modern movie would do that this movie doesn't. That a movie made today kind of based around this is we would see the scenes where all the characters are being like, that's impossible. No one can do that. And we really don't get that. All these guys are just like, yeah, fuck that guy. Let's rob him.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Even though I rented it on Ultra HD,
hard to tell.
I cannot prove that he's. I think. Oh my God! Go away! I am deep. I don't know how to get rid of the. There we go. The fucking Amazon X-ray.
So they have a haircut component, so it's like the cast, the score, and hair length. Is that?
I wish. I give up. And
it's okay.
This site sucks. Company sucks
what
too.
What is the site? Oh, as opposed to all the other good ones.
Okay, I'm 90% sure he's back to being like all beardy. Stubbly. But you were right. John, but you were right, Veronica, in that that wasn't interesting.
Yeah, it was a loss for both not only our podcast listeners, but also our YouTube viewers. So that's what we call in the industry a lose-lose.
We could edit that whole section out, but I don't think we're gonna.
No, I don't think so. But if we did, no one would hear this. So we can just keep talking, right? Because it could be edited out.
If you're hearing us say this right now, it's because we believe that you deserve the unvarnished truth. In this day and age of con men running around, pulling big cons on everybody, you deserve to have people you can trust, like Veronica and I. Either that, or we're just too lazy to go back and edit the audio.
Yes, but likely it's because of the former.
It's definitely the former. Veronica, do you have any
John,
nits
do you
to
have
pick?
any?
Oh.
I have no nits.
No nits.
I like this movie. My only nit was the killer thing, which we have knitted to death.
Yeah,
sort of.
I agree. That storyline is the only part I don't like. This was a genuine treat. I'm glad for this podcast that it made me watch it.
Oh, thank you. I love our friendship too.
That's not what I said.
No, let's rub. Okay. I was planning. I was gonna plan cons with you. Like we're gonna have so much fun.
I love that.
All right.
I had dinner right before we recorded because this recording got delayed. And so I had a glass of wine that I finished during recording this. So my teeth are kind of gross and red during this. My lips are red during this entire video recording.
Well, yeah, you can do some
very cool wine rim. That's great. Right. What a great choice that was.
We're veering off into tangent land. Should we grade this movie, John? Should we?
I think we should, and I think we shall.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey. Nice. A rare BOTM consensus pick.
Veronica, what other flicks you see?
Well, John, I'm here to report that I have seen, I rewatched the David Fincher, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I thought it was much better, mainly because my hopes were lower or my expectations were lower, and I skipped through a lot of the sexual assault scenes. But I found it to be more intriguing this time around than I had originally. And so now I'm kind of bummed they never made more of these because that movie kind of failed, or at least did not make back the money that it was supposed to. What else did I see? I watched The Bourne Identity again, and I thought that it was quite good, but it felt old. It felt a bit old.
How so?
I don't know. Just, how probably in the early 90s you would watch something like The Parallax View and you were like, this is from a different time. This has different rhythms. This already felt like kind of that.
Like it felt, and I guess it felt like pacing was. What's that movie? Like 2002?
Yeah, it was 2003 or something. 2002. You're right. Yeah, I don't know. There was something about it that I feel like the evolution of we got like Bourne gave us something new, which was this very kind of serious, practical stunt action movie. There was no kind of humor to it. It was very somewhat bleak in its outlook. And I feel like we've moved, and then it kind of took the whole genre with it. James Bond started being that too. But then I feel like most action movies kind of marvelized in a way. Now you, again, much like in the 80s, have to have all the fun quips. And there's a lot of CG in every action movie, even if you don't necessarily expect it there to be, unless you're like Tom Cruise. So it's like, it's kind of an interesting thing. It wasn't bad, but it was just like, oh, this is a movie from a different time. This was, and it was, I still liked it, but it felt kind of old in that way. And I also saw an early, I guess, preview of the Jerry Seinfeld movie about the making of, what's it called? Pop-Tarts?
Pop-Tarts.
Called Unfrosted. It's sort of, how there was a movie about the making of like the Cheetos, those like spicy Cheetos or whatever. So Netflix made another one, which is about kind of the behind the scenes of Pop-Tarts. And you know what? It is very stupid, but I enjoyed myself a lot.
I thought
it was very dumb.
Is it a genre parody? Is it like a parody of all these movies we've gotten that are like, hooray for a product?
I suppose in some way it is. I think it's mostly, at the end of the day, it's just a joke factory, and there's just a ton of silly jokes. So I don't know that it necessarily says all that much, but it's definitely sort of in that vein, I suppose, but with a comedic twist. It's all very, very silly and very
It's not like
crazy.
It's not like Walk Hard. It's not like the Walk Hard for like Air and
No. I don't think it has
Blackberry.
that ambition necessarily. It's just a very silly movie. But I had a good time. So, you know, if you aren't doing anything on like a Thursday night. What?
Company woman.
Oh, yeah, it's true, I suppose.
She'll be back next week telling us how great Rebel Moon 2 is.
Oh, yeah. Have you heard? There's already going to be a Rebel Moon 3 and 4.
Definitely going to happen. Definitely. Netflix is definitely going to put more money into that franchise.
Oh, boy. John, what have you seen?
It's funny you mentioned that thing about action CGI. This is not a movie, but have you watched at all the YouTube series No CGI is Just Invisible CGI?
No, I have not.
It's a series by, I don't really know that much of the channel's other work. The YouTube channel is called The Movie Rabbit Hole. And it really started with these series of videos. I wish I had the Jonas Ussing. He's a visual effects supervisor. And basically, it's just an examination of the recent promotional trend of studios just lying about there not being CGI in their movies. And it's not just them lying. It's not just, we've gotten used to them being like, oh, there's like, it's all practical, when like, of course it's not. And we know it's not. But an interesting thing they've started to do is, do you know they've started editing the behind the scenes footage?
You mean editing beyond, like editing it together for a package of some kind?
When they will release a behind the scenes featurette, they use visual effects to edit it to remove green and blue screen. So like the primary example is all the behind the scenes stuff for the Barbie movie. They have edited out, and not particularly well, because again, this is just for some fucking YouTube featurette. It's not even like DVD special features that still exist, just for like a YouTube promotional thing. They have edited out all the blue screen and replaced it with a set to make it look like every part of Barbie was filmed with a real set.
That is so silly.
And there's tons of this, and it's genuinely fascinating. Like, but yeah, no, it's a 4-part series. The last part just came out this week, and it's very funny. I should watch that. That sounds good. Yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah, it sucks how it's, the idea that like, this movie's all practical has just become a promotional tool. So now studios feel the need to lie and claim that that there's no CGI in stuff that's clearly like, one of the big examples is like, you remember, because we've got a new Mad Max movie coming out, Furiosa, where people were like, Mad Max Fury Road's all practical. And it's like, you watch a trailer and you're like, no, it's not. It's obviously not.
No, of course. I mean, I think maybe what they mean is that there were a lot of practical stuff aided by special effects, as opposed to that being the driving factor.
And that would be a fine thing to say, because obviously Mad Max Fury Road, and I believe also Furiosa, used an incredible amount of death-defying stunts, incredible skill from stunt drivers, stunt coordinators, all that stuff. And if you just said, we did as much of this as you could humanly do for real, that's fine. But that's not how these movies are sold. These movies are sold just bald-faced lie, there's no CGI. When literally basically every blockbuster that comes out these days, the sky in every outdoor shot has been replaced. In just like every movie.
That's true for any movie. There are no movies without CGI now.
No, it's true.
I mean, there's obviously like the basic stuff as color correction or whatever, but actors just get, just like photoshopped basically in every scene. There are these studios whose entire job is to be basically plastic surgeons, like where their whole thing is not necessarily practical or not practical, but like visual effects, but rather just prettying people up. It's such a silly thing to pretend.
Yeah. And I think like that's kind of like his like main thesis at the end is that like, yeah, it's, it's the greatest compliment for all these things. Like it's movie magic. It's the greatest compliment if you can actually get people to believe that it's real. That means you did a good job. But a lot of this is just completely like stealing the credit from the people who actually do the effects, who then release their behind the scenes stuff later that just shows how everything's done. So the whole thing is so fucking stupid. Anyway, I watched that series. That's good. I also watched the 1981 slasher movie, The Prowler, because they were discussing that on a podcast I like with Gorley and Russ, the horror movie podcast. I didn't really like The Prowler. However, so it is. So this is a movie. Tom Savini. Do you know who Tom Savini is? The makeup effects artist.
Yeah, a mobster. Oh, hold on. Who am I thinking
He's
of?
Doyle Lonigan's lead assassin, Tom Savini.
No, isn't Paul Savini?
Tom Savini.
Oh,
you're thinking of Paul
mind.
Sorvino. Paul Sorvino.
Okay, never
the
mind.
mob boss from Goodfellas and Mira Sorvino's dad. No,
yes,
Tom Savini.
This is what I'm thinking.
Tom Savini was he a war photographer in Vietnam? I know he was in Vietnam.
Was he with the Kristen Dunst?
That's what I was about to say. Vietnam, blah 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 blah. Yeah, he was a war photographer in Vietnam.
Oh, he was in. I was gonna say he was in the Planet Terror. Okay.
Yeah. He has acted a bunch as well. But so he was a really groundbreaking gore makeup effects artist. And the reason I know that thing about Vietnam is because he said that photographing actual horrific violence helped inform how to make the gore in movies look. But one of his first big hits is Dawn of the Dead, in which the makeup effects are incredible. And he's probably insanely young when he made that. I don't know how old he was when they made that. I think he's, what is he? 32. That's still young. 32. And
pretty young.
Yeah, but then he made, a couple years later, the first Friday the 13th. And I've always said there's a very funny thing in Friday the 13th where his makeup effects are so good, and yet everything else in the movie is so incompetent. And it's like, it makes like the deaths like more shocking because everything else is like, God, can they even like hold the camera up? And then suddenly an arrow will come through Kevin Bacon's neck and you're like, fuck, that looks frightening. So The Prowler is a couple years later, 1 year later, it's 81, and his makeup effects have gotten even better. He considers it I think the best work of his career, and fair. They are some of the most horrific kills I've seen in movies. The movie is worse and the visual effects are better. And it's unfortunately does not make the widening of the chasm does not make the movie more entertaining. I actually found it deeply unpleasant because the characters are nothing. They are nothing. The script gives no effort to the characters whatsoever, but then you watch them just gargle blood for 3 minutes and you're like, I don't even know what that character's fucking name is. So I did not like Prowler. However, to go back to like the Sting where I was instantly able to figure out that the FBI thing was the con, the Prowler is also a kind of whodunit, a thing where you don't know who the killer is. But like the thing with the Sting, the Prowler does not have enough characters. So it's like, well, obviously it's blah, blah, blah. If you are going to watch The Prowler and not want to know who the killer is, cover your ears for about 30 seconds. Veronica, I assume you do not mind.
No, it's fine.
So the beginning of the movie, one of the male lead is the deputy who's been put in charge because the sheriff's got to go on his fishing trip, even though there might be a killer about. So you're like, oh, the deputy. Oh, that's the young deputy's in charge. That's tough. But I was also like, well, the sheriff's a killer. Why? Like, the sheriff's definitely the killer. I gotta go on my fishing trip. Here I go. I gotta go on my fishing trip. Then they do a scene which is so fucking weird, where they do, in the middle of this movie that up until now has had like no comedy, they do like a 5-minute comedy bit where they try to call the sheriff at the fishing lodge, and the big fat redneck guy answers the phone, and I'm sure this is some comedian of the time that they got, and he's like, you want me to go all the way down? By the way, this was filmed in Cape May, New Jersey. So I don't. But this guy, you want me to go down? I'm doing like a British person trying to do a Southern accent right there. You want me to go down and get the sheriff all the way to cabin 4? Okay. Yuck. And then he puts the phone receiver down and then goes, I'm going to get him, and like doesn't get him. And we watch him then sit there and wait and then go, yeah, he went out. And it's such a stupid scene. It's not funny. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh, this is all so that we don't have a moment where they're like, yeah, the sheriff never checked in. The only reason is they have to make a comically inept campsite manager. Just like, there's only 3 characters with like names. I know it's the sheriff. It was the sheriff. It was in fact the sheriff.
So that was longer than a few minutes. So hopefully people did not get spoiled.
There is one good scene, and it is a parody of basically the end of One Flew Over His Cuckoo's Nest, and it's a one time where they legitimately just make a hard left turn into comedy, and it's genuinely funny. I'm gonna look up that scene later and send it to you, Veronica. It is so fucking weird. But other than that,
I'll watch
The Prowler. Not really for me, as much as I love it, the look of the movie. I love me some 80s horror movies, but yeah, it wasn't for me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I feel like for the past few episodes, all of my what other movies have you seen are me being like, I saw this movie, didn't really like it.
Well, I saw that fun YouTube series, so that's something.
I'm here fucking pitching YouTube videos because I got nothing better.
Yeah. The pickings are slim.
Well, hopefully they won't be slim at the theater. Veronica, what
segue.
may we be watching in 2 weeks when we head back to the movies and back to 2024 to see a new release? We head
Back to the Future?
Back to the Future. We
head Back to the Future, and we see... Let's see, this is not that. We could potentially, oh gosh, watch If the John Krasinski.
Oh Christ, I hope not. Oh my God, I hope not.
I think. Okay. And the other one release is The Strangers, Chapter 1.
Wait, what?
Oh, there's also the Amy Winehouse documentary, or not documentary, biopic. I know.
What was the second one you said?
The Strangers, Chapter 1. Remember
I haven't
the
seen
movie,
any marketing for that. That's The Strangers. They remade the first movie.
Mm-hmm. So
that's coming out in 2 weeks. Are there trailers?
I'm sure there is a trailer. it's a Lionsgate production. So
okay,
blame
I don't
Lionsgate.
think that's going to be number one at the box office because I literally. This trailer has 10 million views. I completely missed it. I had no idea this was coming out. My finger is not on the pulse.
Yeah, which is surprising because you're such a pulse finger haver on horror movies.
I'm so surprised.
I mean, the week before, there's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I
hope
hate
it's
those
that,
two
I like
propositions. I have not seen any of them,
that trilogy.
so I will be forced to.
Good. I think they're good. Guys, fucking 2024. There is nothing but trash. I am so unexcited by like any movie coming out the rest of this year.
I'm excited about the Fall Guy.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It's not tracking too well. I don't think we'll be doing that. It definitely won't be number one in 2 weeks. Maybe.
No.
Maybe it's surprising. I would like to see. Okay, Veronica. As this podcast continues for the rest of the year, which would you rather be forced to see? Deadpool 3 or the Mufasa, the Lion King remake prequel?
Oh God, is Mufasa live action again?
Live action. There's no CG.
Oh God, no. Oh, no CGI? Did they go to the savannah? Yeah, definitely the former. Deadpool 3. Oh God.
Have you seen any Deadpool?
This is terrible. I saw the first one.
I have listened to too many, like Ryan Reynolds ads for like Sprint Mobile or whatever the
Mint
fuck.
Mobile? Yeah.
Mint Mobile are on every podcast I listen to. And now I just cannot watch a Ryan Reynolds movie. I do not want to see I do not want to see Deadpool and Wolverine, Hardy Har, Chuckle Fuck.
Oh, ouch. I actually might have miscalculated. I think it is, we have to watch. But our next episode is going to be after the Planet of the Apes one, so it's likely we'll be watching Planet of the Apes.
Oh God!
So
God, I hope
you were spared.
So. Thank you, Christ. You know, I'm okay. If we have said that this year we are sticking to our release schedule.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes up, are we going to subject ourselves to another live action Lion King movie?
Oh God. I mean, for the integrity of the podcast, I guess we have to, even though
the 2019 movie was one of the most unpleasant film going experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. But so we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, Deadpool 3 I'm sure would be like not good, but probably in a more entertaining way than Mufasa would be. I don't know. I saw the first Deadpool. It was like, I mean, it was just not for me. It was like for people who were 10 or 15 years younger than me, who have never experienced any sort of edgelord comedy and thought that it was fun.
On an intellectual level, like just like watching the corporate behemoths try to build up enthusiasm again for the MCU. Like, I guess on some level, I would find that intellectually interesting. I would not believe I will find it funny and or entertaining.
Yeah, but you're here to do a service. You think of it as more of like your service to society is to watch these movies so that maybe some people don't.
Oh God! Did you see in the trailer? He says a bunch of different names for cocaine. It's funny.
Oh, I did not see the trailer yet.
Because he says a bunch of different names for cocaine. It's funny.
That's cool. He's funny. He's so edgy.
He's so funny and edgy.
Yeah,
Wolverine's blades don't come out all the way. Like he's got a boner problem. It's like his blades, but it's like a boner. It's funny.
Oh, do you think Wolverine's boner is also a blade?
Yeah, I think canonically.
Is that appendage
canonically,
is it
yes.
Is that like 7? Like that one scene in 7?
It's exactly like 7. That people don't realize that 7 is part of the MCU, and that character, the character from Lust, who has to fuck someone to death with a knife penis, that is in fact supposed to be Wolverine.
Okay, good. As long as we are on the same page. All right, John, I'm falling asleep. A little bit.
Oh,
tired.
Right. It's late where you are.
It's after midnight.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you some other time, some other place, different movie.
Yay. Bye. Toot toot.
Bye.
Do we wave now? Wave now?
Oh, we wave now because it's visual.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Deadpool fans, don't get angry at me.
Bye. Bye, Deadpool. Bye, Wolverine. Bye, his giant penis.
Bye, Mufasa.
Bye. Sleep tight, Mufasa.
Dude.